Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. The pseudo coaching carousel with coaches that have jobs right now, but might not in the future. And let's go ahead and talk the Auburn Tigers. Okay, so Auburn, what a roller coaster it's been. What a roller coaster it's been for Auburn fans. What a roller coaster it's been for Torres, right? Because, listen, I go back to some of the conversations we had in the summer about Hugh Freeze and the summer about Auburn. And if you remember, it was kind of this weird thing where there were always weird stories coming out about Auburn, like Hugh Freeze's golf scores were getting leaked and why is he golfing so much? And at the time, I kind of defended him. I was just like, look, they signed two monster classes in 2024 and 2025. Their 2026 recruiting class is not going to be he doesn't have to bring in a lot of players because his whole team is freshmen and sophomores. And so ultimately, I actually thought that was going to be his saving grace this year. Show any sign of improvement with a super young roster full of NFL dudes everywhere, you're going to be fine. I thought 6-6, was the baseline, but I thought they're going to get to 7-5. I saw a lot of people in the media, and I'm not even criticizing. I kind of was in the same page. The scenario where they could go 8-4. The schedule's tough, but can you beat Missouri at home? How good is Vandy? This and that. And so I just bring it up because the fact that it has gone as sideways as it was one where going into the season, listen, we said it at the time. I thought Sam Pittman was legitimately on the hot seat. I thought he had work to do to keep his job. I thought Billy Napier was legitimately on the hot seat. I didn't really think Brent Venables was, and I didn't really think that Hugh Freeze was, yet here we are. As we record, it's October 23rd. Auburn is 3-4, 0-4 in SEC play. And boy, oh boy, is the clock ticking. And boy, oh boy, let's take it a step further. Are things getting weird down on the plains? Okay, so first of all, for full coverage, Torres on Auburn for your late-breaking Auburn news. Matt, if we have not alerted the Auburn audience yet that we're talking Auburn now, would probably be a good time. Thank you so much. Appreciate your support. Let's talk Auburn. All right, so it's been a weird week. It's been a weird year. 3-4, 0-4 in the SEC. And we're going to get into some of the other stuff. But, I mean, the bottom line is it's not just that you're losing. And it's not even that you're losing to good teams. It's that you're losing to good teams because the offense, which was supposed to be Hugh Freeze's baby, is a total disaster, okay? And so things have gone completely sideways. And like I said, just a very strange week. And I want to take you back to the beginning of the week, okay? So first of all, a couple things stood out about this week. We talked last week, I guess it would have been the Sunday show we did after the loss to Missouri, about John Cohen's statement a week ago, basically asked about the future of Hugh Freeze. Would he consider making a move? And John Cohen, the AD, basically said, listen, and I'm paraphrasing here, we don't have the quote right now, but he said basically look, I don't plan on taking my car into the shop, but sometimes it doesn't start. And if it doesn't start, then I got to change my plans. So I bring it up because things were already weird. Then earlier in the week, Hugh Freeze basically acknowledged he has not talked to his AD since the Missouri loss. It's pretty standard for the football coach to meet with the AD sometime on Sunday, sometime on Monday. It did not happen. Here is what Hugh Freeze had to say about the situation. I haven't talked to John. I'm going to say John has been so supportive ever since, obviously, my hire, but I don't get too much into they have a job to do, and certainly he has people he has to answer to, and I know how close we are. So first of all, we'll get to that one in a minute, Matt. Let's come back on screen here for half a second. So first of all, did not speak with the AD. Now let's defend Hugh Freeze. He said, look, he's got things to do. I've got things to do. But again, standard operating procedure at most places is pretty regular communication with the AD. So the fact that you're on a 4-game losing streak and the AD and you have not spoken, not ideal, although I have been told by sources being producer Matt, who's an Auburn fan, that John Cohen did show up at practice later this week. So maybe that fence has been mended. But you talk about a weird week continuing. Let's go back to Monday again, because, again, going back to Monday, if you remember, there's all this Mike Norvell stuff. Billy Napier's just been fired. And on Monday, there was a conversation not about Hugh Freeze, but about Luke Fickell, the head coach at Wisconsin. And the AD came out, gave the stamp, what do they call it? Not the stamp of approval, but basically like the vote of confidence, I think is the right way to put it. The vote of confidence This is at Wisconsin. Luke Fickell's AD basically said, like, look, it hasn't been pretty. This isn't the standard, but we support Coach Fickell. We're going to give him what he needs to succeed. So I guess somebody at Monday's press conference asked Hugh Freeze about a stamp of approval, a vote of confidence. Here's what he had to say. It would be huge. That would make everyone feel a lot better for sure. I've totally gotten off of all social media, so I'm not sure what exactly was said in those other cases, but that's got to be reassuring to those people in there that they believe that they can get it fixed. Again, I like Hugh Freeze. I actually really like Hugh Freeze. He's always been very nice to me. But just weird stuff to say. I haven't talked to my AD. Then he basically says, listen, you know what I would love right now? You know what I would love? Nice little vote of confidence. When you're asking the AD for a vote of confidence, that's never a good sign, which leads into Saturday when they travel to Arkansas. And I thought this to me was telling. Again, Auburn, 0-4 in the SEC, coming off of a 5-7 year. Disaster last year where everything that could go wrong did. Well, Justin Hawkinson, who is, in my opinion, the best Auburn beat writer that there is. Maybe there's another one I'm not aware of. But he did put out a tweet to a story. The story was behind a paywall. We always respect writers who have stuff behind a paywall. I know how hard those guys are working. So I'm just going to reference the tweet here from Justin Hawkinson, who put out a tweet. This was on Wednesday about Hugh Freeze, said, quote, comments on Hugh Freeze's job status after a few days of conversations, again, referencing an article that he wrote. Basically, quote, I don't think any option is off the table right now. That's via Justin Hawkinson, the lead writer for Auburn. I believe he works for On3. Again, there's nothing else to say other than that it's getting weird. And there's nothing else to say, but when he says that every option is on the table, it's starting to feel like every option is on the table. First of all, Luke referenced it in the chat, but Freeze's buyout, relative to all these other buyouts, is actually totally manageable. What is it, about $15 million, something like that? Compared to Billy Napier, who's getting 20, James Franklin, who's getting double that, Mike Norvell, who's got $50-60 million owed to him if he were fired. $15 million is a drop in the bucket. Now, like so many of these, we have to read the fine print. We have to figure out exactly how much would be owed within a week, a month, a year, how much is offset over multiple years. Does he have to look for other jobs? I think what would be interesting with Freeze, I don't think there's another job for him to get. Late 50s, two runs in the SEC. I don't think he's going back to the G5 just to coach. So I don't know if he would do TV. I don't know if he would do what. I don't think there's another job for him to get. So point I'm trying to make, Auburn would probably be on the hook for $15 million. But as Justin Hawkinson said, I don't think any option is off the table right now. And I think this is kind of put up or shut up time for the Auburn Tigers, right? Because listen, you're 0-4 in the SEC. I've referenced it a few times. But Hugh Freeze did say, look at the teams that we lost to. Oklahoma, 6-1. Texas A&M, 7-0. Georgia, 6-1. Missouri, 6-1. Not great at math, but if my math is right, I believe that's 25-3 overall for those three teams that they've lost to. Obviously, 2 top 10 teams that they lost to on the road. I believe Oklahoma's in the top 10, maybe top 15, whatever. But the fact that you went 0-4 in that stretch, that is bad. You got to go to Arkansas. You got to win this weekend. I'll tell you what, I think it's a tough spot to go into. Arkansas is moving the ball on everybody. And I know Auburn maybe has the best defense in the SEC, but Arkansas just put up 42 points on Texas A&M. They just put up 34 points or 31 points or whatever it was a few weeks ago at Tennessee. They moved the ball against Ole Miss, 35 points in that game. And so I just bring it up because they can score the football. Now, the counter to that is the defense kind of stinks, but I think the defense, to me, it's more about tackling and being it's the fundamentals. It's not like they don't have the players. And even if the defense isn't great, they're going up against the opposite of the immaculate force in that offense for Auburn, right? You look at that Auburn offense. I mean, it is just a disaster. 15th in the SEC in total offense. And I think the scoring numbers are a little bit deceptive because they scored so many points in the out-of-conference portion of play when they played Baylor and Ball State, etc. And so when I look at the status of Auburn, I believe everything is in play because the one thing that Hugh Freeze can't defend, he was brought in to fix the offense. That's his baby. And that, to me, I keep going back to, I've heard Colin Cowherd say this for years about NFL coaches, and I think it's true in college as well. If you can't get your side of the ball right, why am I putting you in charge, right? Like, you can argue, should Steve Sarkisian be calling plays? Should Hugh Freeze be calling plays? Should Brent Venables be calling plays on defense? But again, use Brent Venables. His side of the ball has never been an issue. Defense has always been good, even as the offense has struggled. Now, all of a sudden, the offense gets fixed, and they're a top 15 team. Lane Kiffin, his side of the ball is never an issue. Kirby Smart, his side of the ball defense is never an issue. Kalen DeBoer, his side of the ball on offense this year with Ryan Grubb is not an issue. Auburn 15th in the SEC in total offense. How about this? They haven't scored more than 17 points in any SEC game, and that includes, by the way, last week when they went into double overtime against Missouri. And so you're talking about a team that is averaging 13 points per game in SEC play. And I really do believe everything is in play. They have 2 games before the bye at Arkansas and Kentucky. You got to go 2-0. Hugh Freeze, it's year 3. You're facing an interim coach and a coach that is very much on the hot seat. You're facing an Arkansas team that is 2-5 right now, 2-4 right now, 3, whatever Arkansas is. I could just pull it up really quick. What is Arkansas? 2-5, 0-4 in the SEC. Is that right? Let me see here really quick. I'll just pull it up. Arkansas is 2-5, 0-3 in the SEC. That ain't going to you got to beat them. You got to beat Kentucky next week, as Kentucky is right now 2-4, 0-4 in the SEC. Like, these are just games that you have to win if you're Hugh Freeze. By the way, Arkansas, I think the other thing too, that's a team that Auburn has historically had very good success against. This is an Auburn team that in their last 9 games against Arkansas is 7-2, 9-3 in their last 12. Like, these are games you got to win. No excuses. Play like a champion. I can't believe we're here with Hugh Freeze, but like, look, when the offense is your baby and the offense can't move the ball, it's really bad. As Justin Hawkinson said, everything is on the table, or no option is off the table is the way that he actually framed it. I believe it, because I don't care how talented the roster is. I don't think you can go. And by the way, the other thing with Hugh Freeze, and now I'm just rambling, but 2 hand-picked quarterbacks, right? I mean, it's not like the old days where I got stuck with this guy and what am I supposed to do, whatever. Went into the portal, got Peyton Thorne. You benched him last year, brought in Hank Brown. It didn't work. You went back to Peyton Thorne, whatever. Well, now this year, Jackson Arnold was your second hand-picked quarterback. And it sounds like, there could be multiple quarterbacks playing at Arkansas this week. So I don't have all the answers. Does something happen after this week? Probably not, because you got Kentucky next week. But I think if you lose this game, let me put it this way. If you lose this game, I think we are talking about a scenario where Hugh Freeze is not the head coach at Auburn next year. Because if you lose this game, you're realistically, at that point, you're 3-5. Even if you beat Kentucky and Mercer at home, if you're 3-5 and you lose to Arkansas, you're not beating Vandy at Vandy. You're not beating Alabama. So we'll see what happens. I don't wish ill will upon anybody. We've had Hugh Freeze on this show. I like Hugh Freeze. But at some point, as Bill Parcells said, you are what your record says you are. And right now, that record's just not good enough.